Just watch me, mouse. Just watch me catch you. Just watch me, mouse. Just watch me catch you, catch you, catch you. All I wanna do is impress you with my mouse trap. All I wanna do is convince you with my cheese. All I wanna do is be the coolest cat here. But I'll need some more super burrito. But I need some more super burrito. But I need some more super burrito.
Hello, Mouse Hunt, and welcome to Feedback Friday. It is November 18, 2022. My name's Dave. Hello to everybody in the chat. Hope you're all doing well today. Hello, Lewis, Matt, Galen. Quite excited for a revamp of the winter hunt. Alex Morton, you have a meeting in 30 minutes, sadly. Well, thanks for popping in quick to say hello at least. And, Alex is tentatively excited for a new great winter hunt. All right, tentative though. Kaim, hello. Dave today. Pog, well, hello to you as well. Clay, morning, folks. KDM, hello to you as well. You to share, hello. Hello, Peter. Good morning. Right back at ya. Warden Slayer, nice to see you. Hope you're having a good morning yourself. Hello, Lem. Hello. And Gene, Dave needs no introduction. Well, I always do. Why not? Ying, hello to you as well. Well, today we're going to take our first look at the upcoming Great Winter Hunt. And can you believe it's almost here? I mean, it's November 18. I don't know how anyone else feels, but I feel about approximately 15 minutes ago, maybe not, about 11 minutes ago, two things happened. I sounded my hunter's horn, and it was November 1st. All right, where did November go? Would somebody please slow down time? I don't know if anyone felt like they blink and November just didn't exist. I feel like we may have skipped it this year, but the Great Winter Hunt is just around the corner. Of course, the Advent calendar will also be making a return on December 1st, 1st of December. I'm spouting out a lot of dates in rapid succession here. I'm gonna go get something wrong. It's only a matter of time. I'm tempted fate. Hello, Jasmine, as well. Yamada, hello to you, Jemmy. Hola. Louis asking where to send my golem this year. That's going to be one of the topics for today as well. And Sally, nice to see you in the chat. Good morning to you as well. And Math, hey Dave, Merry Christmas. Well, right back at you. It'll be here before you know it. Well, perhaps that's a good cue to dive into some winter hunt stuff. And just kind of introduce the 2022 Great Winter Hunt. It's going to be something familiar but brand new at the same time. So have up there, golems are back with a brand new adventure. And that basically means the golems, as they were last year, are more or less coming back just as they were. That's going to be the very familiar part. You have 3 golems. You need a head, a torso, and 4 limbs to build them. You collect those as loot drops from mice. That's going to be one way to get them anyway this year. You send them out, they take 25 hunts, and they come back with loot based on the area that you chose to send them to. Have up there the jingle bells will be back. They're going to work in the exact same manner as always. It's 1 bell per hunt, so 25 bells will bring it back instantly. Say you just have 5 hunts left on your golem, 5 bells, and it'll come straight back, so that's awfully handy as well if you have more golem parts. You can get your golems to come back and send out your next one sooner. Similar to last year as well, you'll be able to exchange excess parts for bells, so that's one more kind of way if you ever feel like you have too many golem parts. So have the hat up there as well. The hats will be making a return, and they add 3 additional items to a golem. So whether your golem's level 1 or level 1,000,000, I don't think anyone's going to reach level 1,000,000. It'll add 3 new items, so the kind of level doesn't have any effect on exactly what the hat does. That part of the Winter Hunt is going to be extremely familiar. What we've wanted to reimagine is the whole journey around that, kind of the adventure. If you remember from previous years, and if I were smart, I could have grabbed a screenshot from last year's event, actually. That would have been smart of me. Alas, I don't have that handy. There was a little window on the right side of your HUD, and the golems came back last year with compressed cinnamon, and you'd use that to stoke an engine on a train in the HUD and deliver some gifts. That would give you milk and cookies to upgrade your golems. That's the part we want to reimagine. I think kind of as we parsed and distilled feedback, what we got from players was it got awfully repetitive. Every day Eventually you get yourself established, and then for 3 weeks or so straight, every day is about the same. It's like, do I have enough golem parts? Send out some golems. Okay. And for a longer event, that can get a little bit repetitive. It feels like you're doing the same thing for several weeks. Can be a challenge. KDM, no one will reach 1 million. You underestimate my power. I don't think 1 million would be possible. I don't think at all. I think I looked up last year. The highest level golem was 24, if I'm not mistaken. Although I'm doing that from memory, so I could very well be wrong. But how have we reimagined that journey? I mean, one of the kind of the design objectives of this was to make it so every day you wake up and maybe it's a little bit different from the previous day. If I can make a comparison to Folklore Forest, you might wake up and be like, oh, you know what, I'm kind of low on ink. I'm going to go to the pond for the next day or two. Or, oh, I need more papyrus. It's time to go to the farm. Ooh, I've got lots of that. I've got my curd. It's time to do a final draft run. And that adds a nice variety, whereas it feels like every day you're doing something different. Your goals shift and change over time. And we're hoping that kind of addresses some of that feedback from previous Golem events. As the years tick by, people stopped discussing kind of getting golem parts in the gameplay and just focusing in on what are my golems coming back with. And so that's a pretty strong signal that it needed some more interesting ways, some more kind of agency, autonomy, and make the journey of sending out the golems more interesting, a little less repetitive. Gene says there's not a long way to go from 24 to 1 mil, though. I don't know about that. It's exponential. The golem upgrade costs increase exponentially, and your ability to earn upgrade materials increases in a linear fashion. So eventually it just basically gets impossible unless you had infinite time, which that would be nice. I was just saying November flew by, and I feel like I don't have infinite time, that's for sure. Blue Cinnamon Hill looks yummy. Coffee or milk with it? I would opt for a coffee, maybe an espresso, or maybe just a tall cup. I better take a sip of coffee, I think. But yeah, if you joined Jacob during an art stream, I'm pretty sure he illustrated the map live, and it was a suggestion from a hunter watching the stream, like, hey, why don't you make the cinnamon location like a big cinnamon bun? And I think it just turned out absolutely adorable. I love it. It's like a big ski hill or a toboggan. I just want to get, remember those GT racers? Remember those things? They had the little skis on it and the steering wheel. I didn't have one when I was a kid, but I was always jealous of the other kids in the neighborhood who had one of those. But I feel like that thing would be a blast on Cinnamon Hill. You start at the top and just kind of spiral your way down. That would be pretty darn awesome. The Golem Workshop as well. It's a little cut off here. I can bump that up a little and let you see a little bit more of the workshop. It's kind of on the shoreline. It's even got an icy dock. Can you see a festive ship arriving to drop something off? What could that be? As well as the Ice Fortress. And this is kind of roughly the order that you'll probably go in. You'll probably want to start at Cinnamon Hill, go to the Golem Workshop, head to the Ice Fortress, maybe back and forth between those two for a bit, back to the Cinnamon Hill. Lamb looking forward to receiving more jackpot items from Golem Loot. Might get into that actually next a little bit. We'll get into kind of what the Golems are returning. Sean, good morning to you as well. Lewis, it looks awesome. I agree. I think Jacob did a fantastic job on the map. Swift, you missed the toboggan event. That was a fun one as well. That was kind of neat with all the courses. You got to introduce a few characters. Although as the years have gone by, we have a lot of great winter hunt mice now, certainly. So that's become a challenge to try to find a home for them all. And actually, that was a great strength of this setup. One of the goals with using 3 areas is it allows us to divide up the encounter pools. There's a lot of great winter hunt mice. Did I say? Let me do a quick head count here. I should have it. There's 66, unless I'm mistaken here. I believe there's 66 great winter hunt mice. So standard cheese and event cheese. Plus there's glazed and pecan. Those are coming back. So there's basically 3 tiers of cheese to work with across 3 areas. Hey, that's 9 encounter pools we have to work with. And that allowed us to do away with the idea of HUD decorations. So that's, if you're familiar with last year's event, you'd capture the boss, you'd get an item, you'd be able to decorate your HUD, and then mice of that decorations theme would come out of hiding, and they drop cookies. And if you're working on maps, you would need to swap out your decorations. Now we can kind of forego that, mental gymnastics, that whole mechanic, and rely on just bread and butter core MouseHunt gameplay. The cheese you use and the area you're in, that's the primary thing that determines what mouse you're going to attract, or what possible mice or what mice you could possibly attract. So maps should feel a little different this year, and you'll be able to move around. There won't be as much kind of time gating around unlocking all the decorations. A little bit sooner you'll be able to dive into maybe some of the naughty lists, once you get established a little bit. So it'll take some effort before you'll be able to confront this year's main antagonist for the first time. Yamada, there's no snow in Singapore. I'd imagine not. It's awfully hot and humid there. That weather kind of blew me away the one time I visited Singapore. But you can live vicariously through Narnia and enjoy the snowy weather without having to bundle up yourself or shovel anything. Marco, will there be a taiga on the map? Will it be a permanent placing? Yes, so I mean, very similar to the Halloween event. This will just be a permanent addition to the map. Might do a bit of a shutdown mode, especially the workshop kind of shut down for the year. Its supplies of animated snow might run out, and I'll have to kind of shut down until the season returns, assuming Mouse Hunters fend off this antagonist. But we haven't failed yet, so surely I think we're going to win by the end of the winter hunt. But yeah, they'll be on the map permanently. The areas will probably get disabled, similar to Baba Gaga's hut or the Gloomy Greenwood. It'll go away while it's not active, but hey, you can always look at the map and remember, and probably change up the art. Even last Feedback Friday, or 2 ago when I did it last, we did take a look at the shutdown map, and you can see the little details of the chicken feet footprints walking out and smashing some of the pumpkins. It's time to sound my horn. I caught my first monstrous midge 15 minutes ago, and I'm 2 for 2. I've got a perfect catch rate so far against the monstrous midge. All right. Oh, it's hiding behind that. That's no good. Let's move that up a little bit. There we go. Sorry, I get caught up on the chat a little bit. I do my best to try to see everything, but sometimes it can be hard to keep up. Warden, how are mouse attraction rates balanced? Each location have totally unique mice, or there's their overlap? There's a little bit of overlap, but for the most part, they all have their own unique encounter pools, including standard cheese encounter pools are different. So if you use Gouda and at Cinnamon Hill, it's different than if you use it at the Golem Workshop. So especially the nice maps, usually you have to hunt with regular cheese to do those, so you'll be moving around a little bit. But all the areas you collect pecan pecorino. Lamb, am I assuming the Ice Fortress will have all the boss mice from previous years? That was a fun exercise, actually. The team we were going back and forth a little bit to divvy up those 66 mice between the areas. And that was one goal we tried our best to do, is kind of, thematically get some of the last year's bosses to all be hanging out at the fortress. But, for the most part, we relied on theme as well. So a lot of the sporty, for example, the Rainbow Racer Mouse was the boss of the toboggan event. It's on Cinnamon Hill, because that's kind of where all the ski mice kind of would probably want to hang out. That said, the Ice Fortress is on a big icy mountain, so, that's like definitely double Black Diamond territory. Off of the bunny hill full of cinnamon and onto the jagged mountain full of treacherous ice. Potato asking, will there be new special mice this year, or the Snow Golem Architect Joy Glazy remain in that spot? So the Snow Golem Architect, I guess, has been demoted slightly in terms of how lucrative of a catch it is. That said, it does always drop a golem part unless I'm mistaken. Grain of salt, and things are subject to change as we playtest here, so we're still a ways out, so things may change. The Glazy and the Joy Mouse are still special mice attracted only to glazed, so kind of glazed maintains that kind of identity. Luke says hello back to you. YX, hey Dave, how many LE Trapper base will there be? That's a good topic to touch base on as well. You may have noticed during Halloween, kind of pulling back on some of the LE traps and base rewards a little bit. Some of it is just filling up, right? Like there's a lot of them in the game, and we're approaching that sort of plateau where it's hard to remember, where did they all come from, what do they all do, what should I use when. The more of something there is, the less special each one of them becomes, and the more kind of cognitive load starts to add up over that. So to that effect, there's only one LE reward from the Great Winter Hunt, and really the golems are kind of the main focus, and kind of year after year, right, the golems seem to be the exciting part. It's very rewarding, the golems themselves. That said, it's still nice to have an I was there kind of thing. So it was such a large event, we still wanted one LE thing to show up, and it's kind of themed a little bit after the event. Dare I say, similar to when the Shorts All Year mouse was the antagonist and you had the Desert Heater base. That was a very kind of thematic base to what you did in the event, and kind of some inspiration. We drew some inspiration from there. Ryan, is the core mechanic of sending out golems still the same? Yes. Apologies, joined a little late. Well, welcome, Ryan. Hermendi, good morning or afternoon or evening all. Hello, Hermendi. Yeah, thanks for popping in. Sally, it's awfully cold here today in Florida, and the Great Winter Hunt's starting to feel its chill there a little bit too. Time to sound the horn. Look, I must be about 4 minutes behind on chat. Look at me go here. James, you really liked how the Halloween incentivized us to use the Boiling Cauldron. It'd be nice if this new region would bring another trap of that special effect. We're still workshopping that a little bit, so probably not this year. We had a lot on our plate just kind of getting all of this done in time, but we had a lot of good notes. We recorded a lot of feedback from the Halloween event as well. We wanted to save some decisions until Halloween was wrapped up so we could get a lot of player feedback on how that boon and how that trap worked. And we recorded a lot, but unfortunately Halloween and the Great Winter Hunt are awfully close together. So there wasn't really enough time to have enough time to act upon that. So we have lots of great notes for next year. And if really, if nothing else, there's so much new already with the Winter Hunt that, hey, it'll be a nice cherry on top next year, assuming everything goes well and that, if something similar happens in 2023. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves anyway. Gene, only 999,999 more to go, eh? What crown would that be, Gene? I assume you're talking about the Monstrous Midge. Ashley, are we assuming no event tournaments, but at least the Naughty and Nice list maps? Yes, Naughty and Nice lists are making a return for the maps, and as expected, it's very similar to last year. The Nice lists have some easier mice that you hunt with standard cheese, so they're good for while you're collecting your pecan pecorino. The nice maps have good synergy there. The Naughty maps include the main antagonist, the boss mouse, so you might want to hold off until you get a little bit established, because until your golems get upgraded, it's sort of hard to pursue the boss with too quickly anyway, to cycle that too quick. As far as event tournaments though, unfortunately the system just still is not working too well. It really just needs to be completely rewritten from scratch. Basically, it was put together at a time when we weren't as proficient at writing scalable code as we are now. So, not to get too technical, but it's tough. I mean, it would be months of just kind of figuring all that out. And so it's just really tough to squeeze that into the roadmap when we're a small team. Ash, it's snowing in Toronto. Got cold here too fast. Absolutely, it is. What's the temperature outside? It is currently 2 degrees outside, with a low of -2. I'm not too interested in that, but I'm trying my best to keep warm. Nathan, will different areas affect how we farm golem parts or just attracted mice? That might be a good segue. I did mean to at least give a little bit of a tease into what you might be doing in all these areas, kind of get some impressions as well. Sally, you'd love to ski down the cinnamon hill with your mouth open. Just let all the delicious aromas of cinnamon. I can smell that hill. Beware the yellow and brown snow swift. Always good advice. Zachary's loving the 3-area concept. Moo's looking festive around there where you are, and on the map as well. Potato, does this mean Let It Snow charms dropped severely in value as well? Their future's yet to be determined. That and the winter charm. Similar to what we did with the Gloomy Gathering charm, which is now just the Gloomy charm. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a one-to-one exchange. So we're still kind of workshopping that a little bit. That's a little detail we have yet to work out, but they will not work in the same way. And that is just part of the ongoing philosophy to free up your charm slot, have fewer charms. Similar with kind of the direction of trying not to have so many bases. There's already 120 bases, and we're kind of running out of runway on just kind of where we can start squeezing these in without... there always being, every area now has 3 bases, and you can't remember where you're supposed to, where to use which base. And you feel like, I never get to use my prestige base because I have all this, I have 200 different bases to swap out. Ryan, what are rare loots we can get from golems from the folklore forest? Yeah, we should definitely get to that as well. Let me see if I can get caught up on chat if I have any hope. Daniel, any new mouse? Just one. We're definitely holding back on that. There were already 65, so we added a 66th new mouse. And, hopefully if this all goes well, we can kind of maybe keep that as the antagonist next year, similar to Halloween, and focus our efforts, elsewhere, adding mice to permanent areas, can add new adventures and what have you. Galen, bring back the Glowing Golem Guardian trap. That's a tongue twister, eh? It is limited edition, and at least we have no plans to change what that means in the immediate future. Yamada, off-topic question: has anyone ever streamed Mouse Hunt on Twitch? Yeah, I think I did see somebody once upon a time, actually. Zach, hope golems bring condensed creativity prices down because they're getting a ridiculous thing. It's a little tricky. It's supply and demand, as fewer people might be hunting there as well, may have a little bit of an influence. But maps are a source of getting a little bit. That puts a little bit in there. Obi, good morning, Dave. Good morning to you as well. Edison, when will the event start? Near the end of November. Edison is eager for the holidays. No, it'll be at least December before it begins. Probably the second week of December. No, I should definitely look at calendars when I talk about dates. The Advent calendar will be here on December 1st, and the Great Winter Hunt will start the following week. Matt, Dave, can we possibly see more bonuses for trap bases combos like the gingerbread house and base? That's kind of a fun space to work with as well. But no immediate plans, but there's a little bit. I mean, the rift set bonus is a big one for sure. But that's just hard to compete with that in some capacities, eh? Matt, you forgot about the boon. Lex, when will the extension to Folklore Forest be released after the Great Winter Hunt? Too early to get into dates, but we've sort of started to pin down the idea in terms of workshopping it and prototyping it, so it's getting there. I don't think I'll catch up on chat before I get going here, but we'll see. Can the premium shop items not contain Super Brie? Not sure what you mean by that, Dave. Maybe in the kits themselves. As far as I know, I don't think last year any of the kits had Super Brie in them either. It's all like pecan and what have you. 2 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit Celsius. Oh boy, I'm behind because I was talking about the weather a while ago. Jason, did daylight savings thing happen? Glad to catch it live anyway. Yes, indeed. We are in Eastern Daylight Time now. Daylight Savings Time. Is it savings or savine? I always forget whether it's plural or not. EDT. We're now in EDT. Unless I'm mistaken. I can never remember till it's stuck. I think it was Giorgio said Eastern Standard Time, EST. Summer starts with an S. EST is in summer. I was like, all right. Hopefully I didn't get that backwards. Then I'll never unlearn it now. Lewis playing tourneys during the holidays was really fun. Got to meet nice fellow hunters there. Hopefully it comes back in the future. It's on the list, and we're a little, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sad about that as well. It's just it's tricky in terms of the constant juggling of priorities. It's just hard to fit, what was likely to be anywhere from 6 to 12-month project. Trying to cram that into the roadmap is near impossible. It's like trying to make a whole other game. It's very difficult to maintain one and build another one on the side. So it's a hard one. Ryan, will the Snowball Showdown and Dust return? Yes. It'll be similar how Insidious Incense played the Gloomy Gathering Charms. Yes, similar to, there'll be an item that kind of replaces it. It's called Festive Spirit. It's in a little magical looking bottle. You uncork it, it releases Festive Spirit, and many magical things happen. Terry, how about more skins that give bonuses instead of bases? That's something we don't quite want to go down that road, because the skins, we want to leave them as cosmetics. So you never feel like this one looks cool, but I have to arm this one because it has stats. So we kind of want to leave skins as cosmetics. Eileen Maps wasn't watching the time. Morning, Dave. Good morning to you, Eileen, as well. There'll be actually 3 new maps with the Winter Hunt. We have nice lists, naughty lists. And if you're snooping around the lexicon when the Winter Hunt starts, you might notice there's a New Year's party map as well. So that might be something to look forward to toward the end of the year. Swift, yes, there's way too many bases in the game, indeed. And that's tricky. And that might be tough too. If we can touch on Relic Hunter as well in the midst of Great Winter Hunt, it leaves that in a tricky space as well. Every year, kind of 2 bases. And I've often reflected upon the better creative approach is to start, this is a cool idea for a reward. Where's an appropriate place to put that reward? And too often with events, what happens is, here's an event, it needs a reward. And it's a very tricky spot that you kind of paint yourself into. So even, it might be a good milestone. We're at 10 years of the Relic Hunter. To kind of call that the final season, if you will, and reimagine exactly what that means. Just kind of as the years have gone by, maybe we rethink kind of what that reward structure means, what it entails. And so that's kind of, obviously it's a whole year away there, but we're kind of playing around with that. There's over 120 bases in the game. And unfortunately, I think it's starting to turn a little bit what Charms did. We definitely got a lot of feedback from player was there's so many Charms, I can't remember where they come from, how valuable they are, how I'm supposed to use them. Bases are starting to get into that scary space as well. So I think it's time to pull back on that a little bit and just kind of rethink that. But anyway, whole other topic of discussion, and there'll be lots of time to dive into that for sure. Sally, EST is in the winter. That is backwards. Oh no, I'll never unlearn that. I'm forever backwards. Well, thank you, Warden and Sally. YX, will the three areas in the taiga be permanent ones or will they melt after the event? I'm sure we'll change the artwork slightly into a bit of a shutdown mode as sort of the cold weather pulls back. Alex, any thoughts on moving the Ice Fortress Snowball Fight Mice to a revamped slushy shoreline? Not bad, but for the time being anyway, we're able to work with those 66 mice in this format. So I think we're in okay shape for now. I mean, feints, I assume, about the New Year's map. I should definitely segue, otherwise I'm going to never actually change this slide here. So I did want to give a little bit of a teaser of, okay, what might you be doing at these three locations? You know, part of the fun is diving in and exploring, and the fun on release day, everyone exploring and figuring out kind of the best way to do things and uncovering some you know, little fun surprises here and there. So we won't go into too much detail, but I did kind of grab quickly the mobile heads-up displays for the three areas of Cinnamon Hill, Golem Workshop, and the Ice Fortress. And they've come together quite beautiful, the whole team. I feel like every member of the team touched these at least in some small way, and it's come together in such a fantastic way. They look great. They look even better when you're playing it. The Cinnamon Hill, like I said, where you might start your a familiar item from last year is coming back, compressed cinnamon. If you remember, you sent out your golems and they used to come back with compressed cinnamon. You stoke the engine of the train and you got milk and cookies, and that allowed you to upgrade your golems. Hey, it's time to sound my horn. It's a nice time to just take a little beverage break too. So we really like the theme and the narrative of compressed cinnamon being this magical, renewable, clean-burning, delicious-smelling fuel source, just chock full of cinnamony goodness. And lo and behold, this might be a fantastic source of compressed cinnamon. And similarly, hey, it powered a whole train last year. You can use it to power up your Golem Workshop. So this is a fun way where you can have more agency and more control over which Golem parts you need. You can collect Golem parts in all the areas, and mice drop them at the same rate in all the areas, assuming you can keep your catch rate going the same way. But let's say just whatever. I was in the Cinnamon Hill for like 50 hunts, and I didn't get a single Golem head. I got 10 torsos and 10 limbs, just ballparking here. But I really need a Golem head. But while you're at the hill, you're collecting cinnamon that you can then take to the workshop to power these adorable droids that Jacob painted on Feedback Friday, and they will produce a part. And you can turn on 1, 2, all 3 of them if you want, and that's a way to help balance out your Golem parts without having to smash any. So just kind of the more time you spend at the hill, the more time you get in the workshop to kind of customize what part you want. Helps you balance out your loot drops, puts you in control of which part you need the most at the time. And then finally, the Ice Fortress. So kind of some inspiration from the last event where the mice came back with compressed cinnamon. Not to kind of mince too many words with cinnamon, because we were using some items here in different ways. And then you would stoke the engines and get milk and cookies. Now, instead, we went back to using reinforced ice shards. So if you've played the Winter Hunt for a number of years, you may remember reinforced ice shards were the item that you used to upgrade your golem. Now golems, they just come back with reinforced ice shards. So every time a golem comes back, you get this item and you can spend it to upgrade a golem of your choosing, should you have enough to upgrade. But they also come back with an additional item that you can take to the fortress to earn even more reinforced ice shards. You can also get animated snow from the Ice Fortress. You can get more cinnamon. You can get some bonus loot. There's a lot of kind of fun things to get while you're at the Ice Fortress. So that kind of replaces this idea of on the HUD, you just click a button over and over and over and over again. Now you actually get to go somewhere, and instead of just clicking a HUD button, you get to sound the hunter's horn, go on a hunt, catch a mouse, and something cool happens. So that's a real quick overview. A little information overload, perhaps. Last little thing, too, I wanted to just put out there so players are aware. We're still fine-tuning this, but I feel like it is important information just to kind of avoid any, I don't know the word I'm looking for, not surprise, but just so there's no misinterpretations or anything. Because there's new ways to earn animated snow, the whole economy of that item has changed. It's more plentiful than it has been in years past. So all the values in like smashing and building golem parts, they're about the same. It's a little bit of a different ratio, at least what we have up there right now. But all the numbers are just bigger. So, in previous years, maybe 10 or 20 animated snow. I was like, oh, I got a pretty good little stash. Now it's more like, like 100's a good amount of animated snow. That's what starts to feel like a lot. But we're still fine tuning that a little bit. But I thought I'd get that out there just in case any weird impressions came up or anyone had any kind of suggestions, any red flags around, whoa, don't touch that for any good reason. And now I'll see if I'll do my best to get caught up on chat here. Forgive me if I skim a little bit. Thea asking for a buff to the ultimate charm rate from Magnum Opuses. It would take 10 years just to get 400. I don't think 400 ultimate charm is sort of a realistic goal for everybody. So I don't think the design intention is to make that a sort of realistic goal. It's a goal you can set for yourself, but we don't want to get in the territory where that's, like a couple weeks are cool. I got 400 ultimate charms. Like they're kind of almost too good, can't use. They're the hardest to get charm in the game, arguably. There might be some close contenders in the mix, but it's kind of intentional that it's not too easy to stockpile hundreds and thousands of them. Tibia, you do like bases with special effects in areas makes you change your setup instead of just going with your top power all the time. Yeah, and we want a little bit of that just without kind of overdoing it. So I'm just kind of tuning that, trying to find a good balance. And plus two, waiting for an opportunity where there's a great idea for it. And then, okay, where can we add that versus just having to add them is just kind of a tougher space to be in. Edison, the glowing Golem Guardian base is officially retired for you after you bought the jewel base, the adorned Empyrean refactor base. You've been using it since 2018. Whew. You made good use of it. Chong, well, the 3 areas aren't permanent. They're event areas just like the Gloomy Greenwood. So it depends on your definition of permanent. They open and they close just for the event. But, come July, you will not be able to hunt at the Ice Fortress. Yep, and Lynn as well. That's a good comparison to make. Hey, just the way the Gloomy Greenwood works. So if you're kind of confused at all about how these 3 areas might work for the winter hunt, hey, just like Halloween, that's it. They work in just the same way. Swift, even animated snow suffers from inflation. Well, we've discovered a new source of it. The HUDs look really good. I am just, hats off to the entire team. Everyone put in just a lot of absolutely fantastic work. And there's a lot of fun details as well. And maybe Jacob will most likely do Feedback Friday next week. I'll probably be then the following week. And then we'll be getting pretty close to the winter hunt, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe we can do a little screen share and even kind of, demo a few animations and what have you. Scrib Dev, hello. This looks amazing. Nice to see you, Scrib. Glad you're liking the way it looks. Getting Halloween vibes, though. Halloween vibes from this. Go Christmassy, snowy, wintry, holiday, explosion, bonanza. Hank, hopefully less smashing required. That always felt bad. That is one of the goals, less smashing, right? Because it's kind of a negative thing. It's like, I got to get rid of something. I got to throw something away to get something else. That's still an option, just depending on how things roll out. You might just want to smash a thing or two. But now there is a way to get that animated snow. And in the Golem Workshop, you're choosing which Golem part you want to boost the drop rate of. That's not quite the right way to phrase it. The droids are literally forging those Golem parts. So as you power them up, they're just putting them in your inventory for you. So if you have way too many limbs, you might the dude who's making limbs, say, droid, take a break. You don't need to make any limbs for me right now, and just have the ones that are making heads and torsos, those 2 droids. Keep those ones running. I think I've reached the point where the chat is outside the fold here for me. Hopefully less smashing. Cool. Less clicking is good. This has been reworked a little bit. That was a little... I wonder if browser's done yet. I don't know if it is actually, where the interface closed when you smashed. Rewind charms, eh? I don't know if they would have a good use in there. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they might be a good use in the Golem Workshop. But again, you get so few of them. I don't know if I'd want to use them for that. But Potato, so most all actions have become on hunt actions instead of press button actions. Yes, other than kind of crafting your golem parts. No more kind of clicking the HUD in rapid succession to deliver gifts or anything like that. You sound the horn, and capturing a mice makes things go. Edison, this brings back memories of the festive ticket and the ice blocks, or the Ice Fortress event from many years ago. Ryan, are golems working the same way, like common, rare, and exceptional? Yeah, that might be good to touch on as well. So that's something we've given an overhaul because that was always a little bit weird and just kind of over the years, it didn't quite work out well, but we're just sort of repeating it. So it was nice to have a blank slate. We've done away with the idea, if you remember, golems come back with the first two slots are called common, the next are valuable, and after that you get exceptional, and it just you get one for level after that. We've done away with all that terminology, and for the most part, most areas, we've just removed the common stuff because it was kind of garbage. For the most part, right? It was just there to make the next levels look better. But I mean, really, it's kind of quantity over quality. Kind of works just as well. So no more Swiss cheese or something like that, unless you send your goal and maybe the town of Nani, you might still get Swiss cheese or something, but there's not really too much to work with in those areas. So, cheese, if you're in the town of Nani, you probably don't mind getting Swiss cheese, to be honest. But the higher level areas, common has for the most part been done away with, and the valuable and exceptional have been merged and kind of fiddled with a little bit, a few quantities kind of adjusted here and there. So just kind of your very first time you send out a golem and it comes back with just one item, at least it's kind of one decent thing, no more kind of common. The hats are still there. They work in a very similar manner. They add 3 special slots, and it's basically 3 of the best things from that pool of possible reward items. And there's even one more thing. You can add a scarf to your golem this year, and that'll add one more something that's, depending on where you send it, probably even better than a hat or similar to a hat, but the quantity's been amplified dramatically. But those will have to be found by hunting. That'll be the only way to get those scarves. So they'll be kind of few and far between. You'll have to kind of choose wisely where you want to send out your scarves. Will the Snowball Showdown be updated for the new items? Yes, so I believe Festive Spirit is on it now instead of Let It Snow Charms. Similar to Halloween, how the incense replaced the Gloomy Gathering charm. We're replacing Let It Snow and Winter Charms with Festive Spirit. And it's an item, you can kind of see it in the top corner of the HUD. Probably straightforward if you played Halloween or condensed creativity, bottled wind, lantern oil, that sort of thing. You can turn it on and off, and it gives you various bonuses. Foo, any floating island-specific bases in the upcoming Relic Hunter seasons? We were just touching on that a little bit earlier and just kind of wondering if maybe we're going to move away from the base space, at least for the Relic Hunter. Try to reimagine that a little bit. And even kind of, we're still kind of mulling over a little bit of feedback from the last 2 bases. We're probably going to add a little bit of a buff to the smelly sodium base as well. Try to make it a little less niche. Right now, it kind of appeals to a subset of players who don't pay as close attention. Maybe you're traveling, or maybe you're just, you're busy with family, it's the holidays, and you're just hitting the widget. You're not even opening the app, but you still want to work on a King's Crown, or you just prefer to be in the Sand Crypts. But that's awfully niche, right? So we're kind of playing around with a way to add a small buff to it, or at least if you're playing actively, there's kind of a good use for that as well. But that's it. It's a tricky space. Everything kind of snowballs a little bit. So odds are, I don't know if we'll be doing bases ahead of time, but there'll be a lot of time to discuss Relic Hunter over the next year or so as we kind of firm up where we want to go with that. Nathan, you don't need 400 Ultimate Charms. You need 15k Lunaria for other reasons. Okay, well, that's one way to get it at it as well. But at least you got to be hunting quite diligently to use up that much cheese. That's a lot of cheese to go through. Rashawn, where is this area going to be placed if permanent? So here, if we go back a little bit. Let's see if maybe I can move this up a little bit. This might give a better idea. Here we go. That's the entire crop of the map I took. You can see the Gloomy Greenwood is just a little bit to the west of the Cinnamon Hill. You can see a little bit of the toxic spill down there as well. So that should give you a pretty good idea of where that's going to be situated on the map. It's in the north, obviously being a cold, snowy, icy mountain, completely frozen over. A taiga, if you will, which is an Arctic landscape. It is in the north. Is Festive Spirit a pure premium item like Condensed Creativity? There are ways to earn it in the game as well, but it is a premium shop item. Wax, is the Chinese New Year event the next one after Great Winter Hunt? Yes, the Lunar New Year event is the next event right after the Great Winter Hunt. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah. We're trying to fit Jack in there as well, but Lunar New Year's a little bit on the early side this year, so I think Lunar New Year would be before Jack. Fingers crossed we can get Big Jack in there. Then to clarify, you don't want it to be easier to get 400 ultimate charms, just another way to grind them that isn't the table of contents but takes the same level of effort. Options are good. Now there's a few ways to get them as well. There's different maps that reward them. The Living Garden is always an option. You can go essence collecting for a foreseeable future. Scrib, the Halloween vibes are simply from the cannons and the balls that we get for firing from a while. Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I put two and two together until right then. Yeah, the ghost cannonball event of Halloween Pass, you were firing a cannon. And there's some similar vibes there, but they're frozen cannons. Firing some hailstones. James, maybe previous Ellie Winter Traps and the All Season Express could have a power and luck bonus while hunting at the region. We've kind of got that jotted down for next year, so we don't want to rush it. There's already so much, new things to explore. We had a lot of great feedback from Halloween, but we kind of want to make sure we do that in a way to address a little bit of friction where you felt like I gotta use this one trap, but there's something else I want to use. Hopefully we can do it in a way where there's still a little bit of choice as well. Swift 400 ultimate charms does not sound normal. Depends on your definition of normal, but it definitely sounds like a very difficult feat to accomplish. And more jackpots, please, eh? Res donation premium shop leaks. Very similar to last year. The glazed and the pecan will be in the premium shop. Like we've mentioned, this festive spirit, kind of as expected. That's kind of similar to Halloween. Works in similar ways. Some skins, baskets and kits as you'd expect. Nothing out of the ordinary, really. It's time to sound my horn again. Will I go 4 for 4? No, I missed a midge on a trap check. These trap checks are bad luck, I tell you. Ryan, will the rib be available in Queso Geyser? We better segue into Golem loot tables pretty soon. Yeah, it's 10:40. We better get there. James, would the scars be tradable or sold on the marketplace? No, so they're just for you, and you got to earn them in gameplay. They're not in the premium shop. You cannot buy them. They're not in maps. There's no way to kind of get around the fact that you have to go and earn those during the Great Winter Hunt, and every single one you get, you got to use it yourself. So you're going to have to kind of choose where you want to send the scarves. We'll leave that to be something discovered once kind of hunters sink their teeth into the Great Winter Taiga. Alex, what's the icon next to the right of the cannon? You don't recognize the green smudge. Let's go back, take a look here. To the right of the cannon. We'll leave that a mystery. Everyone zoom in, just super pixelized probably on video, but we'll leave that open to speculation. But it's nice to get initial impressions and sentiments, as well. So it's good to give a little bit of teaser. Often, one of the great things about Feedback Friday is a way to get feedback on something before it's released, because it's a heck of a lot easier to change something before it's released than after it's released. So got to try to walk that line. I know some hunters don't like too many spoilers. It's kind of exciting, everyone doing the same thing at the same time, kind of figuring out the best way to do something. So just kind of teaser of what there is to do, but maybe not how the best way to do it is. And those cannons, depending on which ones you fire, you get different bonus loot. So I think I've already given away a couple of them with mentioning animated snow and cinnamon. The third one's kind of a pure bonus as well, so it's kind of even outside the loop of the event. Maybe I should just give the hint to get feedback. It's a charm cannon. You can get kind of some pretty juicy charms when you fire that cannon. Gene, random Halloween question. What's the cursed gold drop rate from the skulls? I have no idea off the top of my head. I don't want to misspeak, so without it being in front of me, I wouldn't even know. I couldn't even venture a guess, actually. I haven't looked at that in so long. Thomas, how about a base to make Crown Collector go away so I can get a thermice? That's just part of hunted in those areas. It's a mouse there. Generic Potato, is there an aim date for when the changes to the salt base would release? So I'm kind of workshopping those a little bit. I imagine we won't be able to wrap things up until probably sometime next week. So, maybe the week after, something like that. We're going to kind of see, make sure we're going to put it in. We still got to kind of play around with it a little bit and find the best spot for it. Edison, is there a special label on the festive winter hunt traps where the snowball charms will provide bonus? There is a little filter in the trap selector, but I hear you. That can be a bit of a headache to keep tabs on. It goes back to the more things there are, the harder it gets to remember. I often kind of fall back on the analogy of, I call it like the rule of phone number digits, like 7 to 10 digits. That's how long a phone number is if you want to include the area code, at least around here. And I feel like that's about the limit of how much you can remember in your short-term memory. If you're in a room with 7 people for a half hour, and when you leave, odds are you can probably remember all 7 names, maybe, maybe not. If I put you in a room with 30 people for a half hour, it's a lot harder to remember those names. And so, kind of as the number of skins, bases, and charms and everything start to pile up, you need better tools to help distinguish everything. That said, at least on browser, there's a little filter, so you can filter, yes, Great Winter Hunt. So any that appear in there, and I don't have my screen share set up, so I can't quite show you, but if you go to change your trap, it is toward the right, and it goes show. You can go Great Winter Hunt, and oh, cool. All those are my traps that work, but skins don't have that, so it's not going to help you with the skins part of it. Hopefully, anyway, though, you don't have too many skins for one trap where it's at least somewhat obvious which one is a Winter Hunt one. But I hear you. That's an ongoing kind of problem that only gets a little bit worse as time goes by. Lamb, why not consider making traps available as a reward instead of bases for future Relic Hunter seasons? I think we run into the same problem. Whether it's a base or whether it's a trap, you kind of have the same issue going on where eventually there's just too many of them. It's just, you're kind of square peg, round hole. I call it often rewards for the sake of rewards is usually not the most creative way to come up with something compelling where you're just forced to, just something has to be given out. I'd rather start with a great idea and figure out where to put it than start with where to put it and figure out what's supposed to go there, if that makes any sense. Terry, I guess I got used to the bases and new traps tradition. It felt like something was really missing about them at Halloween. You're looking forward to something new to buy. Yeah, trying to find that right balance. And with Winter Hunt, there is one new LE thing that kind of I was here. That moment of completion of I got this. And years from now, I can look back and remember, oh yeah, that was 2022 event. That's where I got this thing. And so at least for the Winter Hunt, we'd like to continue that tradition if we can. But it gets exceedingly difficult as the years go by. And it becomes an event just to gather supplies. There's also a journal theme as well. And that's kind of an interesting space because they're cosmetic. And so there's not really as much friction outside of just making sure the interface can support a large quantity of them, which might need a little bit of love in that regard. But cosmetics are a great spot for that. Or I don't know, maybe we explore trap skins or something like limited edition I Was Here trap skins branded with the year. Reaper, finally, please replace Super Snowballs to Ultimate Snowballs in the Snowball Showdown Dusted board. It's not a bad suggestion. Jot that down. It seems like it just makes sense. I don't think it even needs too much thought. Trying to, from memory, I don't quite remember all the rewards. We did look over them a little bit to replace some things that are no longer useful. Big Jack Jackpot, eh, Matt? Show me the Diamond Cheese and Warpath Portal parts. That's what Warden Slayer. Looking to slay some Wardens. You're looking to help out in the Warpath, eh? Ying, will event tournaments be back? Likely not. Unfortunately, tournaments are kind of... It's like a car with a lot of mileage on it. And there's just, no matter how much maintenance we do, eventually you need to replace it with a brand new car. But we just don't have the budget to replace that car right now. That was a pretty good off the top of my head analogy, actually. But so we're trying to fit it in there. I'm sad too, but... Unfortunately, it's just really tricky to get that in there. It's a huge technical undertaking, and we're struggling to find the right resources and at the right time to be able to get tournaments rewritten from scratch, to be able to run them in a way where they don't completely blow up when too many people try to participate in them. Oh, IX says, Ronza coming soon in 2023. I don't know. Haven't heard from her. Rashawn, can we tell about Golem parts from... Can we tell about Golem loots from the Folklore Forest? Yeah, we should segue here. I should get into Golem loot. Because I want to share a small Google forum, little survey here about Golem reward feedback. So let me grab this. I'll put it in the chat as well so you can click it. If I can find where that is. There we go. So I will paste this in the chat for your clicking convenience. And just kind of at the end of the day yesterday, I kind of put this together in the afternoon. At the end of the day, I did share it on Discord already as a way to kind of a little bit of a pseudo dry run just in case there was any problems with it before I share it on Feedback Friday with more people. So thank you for the couple dozen people who were the first to go through it there a little bit early on Discord just to make sure it was working correctly. Only one critical typo too, and unfortunately, actually, I ended up having to. I didn't notice that, or somebody on Discord noticed only this morning. So the forward farm is spelled incorrectly. That's my infamous typo that I make 9 times out of 10. But unfortunately, if I were to correct it, it would throw away the results, and it kind of a lot of people filled it out overnight. Ended up so. There it is. It's a quick little survey. Just act as one more source. This isn't like some definitive source of truth we're referring to, or nothing too scientific here, but just one more source of feedback and sentiment. Let players kind of chime in with where are you excited to send your golems, and which golem rewards do you think need update or improvement. So if you can kind of think back to last year, and it might even be kind of a good exercise. If you can't really remember, then maybe it wasn't that strong of an impression it left, but definitely, if you look back on last year, you reflect and go like, no, there was this one thing I remember clearly, then hey, that's pretty good feedback that it left an impression of that. That needs to be a little better, please. So if you take a little bit of time, won't take long at all, probably 2-3 minutes. It's a bit of an overwhelming list of all the areas in the game, but other than that, it's just kind of 2 questions plus what's your hunter's title, how long have you been playing, just for a little context. And yeah, we'll be using this over the next couple of weeks as we play test. We're fine tuning a lot to do with the golems as well. Like I said earlier, the golems no longer have common, exceptional, valuable. We've basically thrown away common for most areas, combined valuable and exceptional, tweaked some quantities and some probabilities. And so, it needs a lot of fine tuning. It's the one nice thing over the course of the last 5 years, you get a lot of feedback on the golems. And we're able to just kind of fine tune it year after year. Whereas this is almost like a fresh start. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have last year's to draw inspiration from and kind of use that as a starting point, but it'll be a little bit of a fresh start in terms of what your golems can come back with. Any sneak peek at new LE festive traps for this festive event? That might be a good thing to get some sentiment on. It's a fun to be a surprise, but at the same time, it on day one. We drew a lot of inspiration from a previous popular base, the Desert Heater base. And so something similar for the Geyser region is what's in store for the Great Winter Hunt. Has a bit of a thematic tie-in as well with the event. Similar, you remember the event the Desert Heater base came from. It was the Shorts All Year Mouse, and you're destroying all the heaters. He was trying to melt all the ice and snow and ruin all the snowy goodness here. So, a similar kind of canon-themed thing to utilize in the Geyser region. Queso Canyon region, sorry, not just the Geyser, the whole region. Draconic attachment for the Golem Guardian trap, please. It's an LE trap. It's very unlikely we update anything that's LE. Dare I say, I could be wrong here. I think the last time we ever did that may have been the Nanny Bot. Maybe the Hit Grab Rocking Horse. I don't know. Eileen, who are you again? Andrew, this looks hyped. Great job. Let's hope it lives up to the hype. Terry, the event trap saved me when I was a new player. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of and there'll still be some things in the Trapsmith. The Gingerbread House Surprise still makes a return every year. The seasonal gift of the day base as well. If you don't have a 10 luck base, hey, that's a good base to use, and you get extra loot depending on the gift of the day. Swift, you wish there were more non-event journal themes. That's kind of maybe a little bit overdue. It'd be nice if every area had something as well, eh? I think I agree with you. So if the upgraded Spooky Shuffle gives ultimate spooky charms already, well, if that isn't just a strong argument to have the Snowball Showdown follow suit, I don't know what is. I did jot that down. I'll take a look. No promises, but sounds good to me. But who knows? Somebody on the team might have a very good reason why we shouldn't do that. Alex, for the 15th anniversary, are we getting traps with a 15% auto catch auto? That is around the corner, isn't it? Oh boy, time is passing. We'll see. No immediate plans. Schoolwork. Any chance of upgraded data on Halloween Brewing like a couple weeks ago? I did share a little bit with Jacob. Hopefully he shared some last week. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't know if I could take a quick peek. I'm probably not set up here. We are running a little bit late. I did want to get into a little bit more of the golem loot as well. Lamb, you have so many arrows. The form only allows 4 max. That's to make sure you prioritize, right? So try to pick your top 4. I know it can be tricky sometimes, but it's a useful exercise to try to narrow it down. Just so we don't. It's just more useful if people pick kind of their top 4 or their top 5 for the second question. Edison, what's the difference between Zokor and Labyrinth when sending golems there? So that might be an okay segue. So forgive me. Let's make sure this is working first. Bear with me here. I'm going to try something that is technically strange. And I am going to try to give a little sneak peek at some golem loot. Huge grain of salt here. This is a work in progress, and very much so. The point of sharing this is to get some impressions, feedback, and sentiment so we can change it. So this is not verbatim. I'm doing something very convoluted because this is only on my laptop. I don't have this software on my desktop, so I am sharing my screen from my laptop, and I'm going to stream it from my desktop. And I am setting it up, hoping, nope, it's not working. What do I gotta do? All right. Hit this button. Hey, it's kind of working. It's kind of working. Oh, the smudges are charms. Alex is figuring it out. Alex is figuring it out. All right, and hey, a little fun behind the scenes here is this is a little window into some of our development spreadsheet here. So let's take a look. Zocor versus Labyrinth. That was actually a really good question to try to give the two areas a strong identity, even though they're so tightly connected. They both lead to the same thing. And at the end of the day, you get to choose, right? But I'm highly likely to spill coffee on my laptop now. I've got a lot of computers on my desk. And as you can see here, these are the setups that the difficulty of all the mice are balanced for. So rest assured, they're not too difficult to catch. If you have the Gingerbread House Surprise and the Seasonal Gift of the Day base, you're going to be doing pretty well. So what were we talking about? Zocor and the Labyrinth. Now, these are roughly in the order of progression here. So I should have put big red text on the screen, subject to change. I can't stress that enough. It's time to sound my horn. The monstrous midge is just going down today. That mouse is just going down. So the Labyrinth being very much so, I meant to take the chance out of here. I just wanted to show the items for now. One thing at a time here. Let's one thing at a time. All right. Well, we got the Labyrinth and the Zocor percentages in there. But the identity of the Labyrinth being about lantern oil, a good way to get your lantern oil, kind of things to help you get through the Labyrinth. Zocor, more so about the things you get from Zocor. But trying to find that spot. Now, odds are Zocor is going to be a little bit more compelling because you're getting the destination instead of the journey. But if you were to go to the Labyrinth and then use all those resources to get to Zocor, you'd kind of come out ahead a little bit. So, you know, it's not always going to be a perfectly interesting choice. But at least there's a little something. Whereas Zocor, you know, you've got the power cores. You've got the charms that you can get inside the unstable crystals, if I'm not mistaken here. We're going to push the limits of my MouseHunt trivia knowledge here. I'm going to get something wrong. Whereas Labyrinth, you're getting things to make cheese, to kind of help sustain your way through the Labyrinth. You're getting much more reliable lantern oil. If you choose to send your scarf there right now, huge grain of salt. I really should have put red text on the screen, subject to change. But right now it's at 75, but we're getting into the nitty gritty playtesting. That could change. Alex, who feed that data straight into my eye holes? That crossed my mind as well. I don't know if we'll do it for this winter hunt, but still thinking it over. But I mean, just publishing kind of a sheet of all this somewhere. Ideally, we didn't have time. We wanted to do an in-game way, kind of similar when you preview possible rewards for a map. You can kind of get a sense of, well, if I were to send my golem here, what could I get? We want to kind of get that into the game somehow, so we might save that till next year because we didn't quite have time. Actually, I shouldn't even say the word quite there. There's a lot of new stuff to get done. No way did we have enough time for that. I'm sure the wiki editors would love that. Whereas if you're looking at Zocor, here, if I don't keep jumping all over the place, you're getting the things you get from Zocor. The plates, the scrolls, the power cores. You're getting Minotaur loot drops as well. That said, I don't know, maybe you want to load up on Labyrinth supplies and just run it yourself, or maybe you want to be doing maps while you're going through at the same time because, hey, you're not getting lantern oil from Zocor, which can be a little bit tricky to come by. Now, you are getting the plates, the scrolls, and the core, so you can buy some from the general store. But Joel's Zocor scarf looks good. That's what we're playing around with, and it's going to be hard to get that just right. And that's why it's good to get as much feedback as possible ahead of time. But no doubt by the end of 4 weeks of the event, we'll have a lot of feedback to act on for next year. But trying to find an identity for the scarf where if you're interested in that area, it's going to be something like, yep, I can use that. Yep, just hands down, like, yep, okay, cool. That's just one of the things I'm looking for from that area. Reaper, speaking of Zocor, any plans on removing shiny precious gold from scavenger maps for how hard it is to reach the inventory? Having a loot that isn't 100% drop rate is quite offsetting. Yeah, I mean, I have to think it over. Kind of makes sense, but then, there's probably other things like that as well. But I hear it. I have to see what level scavenger map it's on. The scavenger maps are kind of interesting. They're simultaneously at times easier and simultaneously way harder than a regular map, and yet you get the same reward. We won't open that can of worms of how hard it is to scale the difficulty of map proportionate to the reward, because it's just such a subjective sort of thing depending on where you are at in the game, what supplies you have. Schoolwork, really curious about changes to the Living Garden complex for golem loot, you mean? That's another popular one as well. Definitely last year, they were up there on the list in terms of popularity. So the Living Garden, the Lost City and the Sand Dunes, or Sand Crypts, however you want to look at it. We don't go too out of our way to distinguish between the Rift versions, at least when it comes to golems. And primarily being things that you either use there or you get from those locations. So these three areas have a lot of overlap, but they still have their identity of there's certain petals you collect from one area and you don't from the other. So kind of leaning into that a little bit, as well as essences as just always being there. If we look at what the exclamation point on them all currently. The Living Garden being Plume Pearl herbs and Lunaria petals, a whopping 60 of them in a scarf. Lost City, just Plume Pearl herbs, because that's what you're getting from there. Sand Dunes and Lunaria petals. So if you send to the Living Garden, you're gonna get kind of either or if you send to that specific area, you can kind of balance out your supplies that way. Mutton asking, will wisdom be a public stat in the future? We do have plans for that, but not in the immediate future. But, oh boy, I agree. It's awful that you can't see it. It's definitely something we'd like to change. Potato, wouldn't data display be a great thing to leave to the community? You're sure there's a lot of people working on tools. Wouldn't mind to have a setup display they could get data. Yeah, it's part of the fun too. It's interesting. I'm interested to hear kind of feedback. Like, does it take any of the fun out of the mystery of not knowing what's there? Yeah, you have to make a decision, right? Especially with the scarves being introduced this year. You only get so many scarves for the event. You're going to get a relatively small number of them. So you kind of want to know, like, there's a little bit of anxiety behind, well, I don't want to send it somewhere where I don't know what I'm going to get, because I can't really I don't get a do-over. So I feel like you need some feedback, right? But then does it take any of the fun, kind of that exploration sense out of it, players all discussing, like, what did you get? Oh, I got this. Oh, what did you? And it kind of ties in with the holiday. Hey, what did you get in your stocking? Oh, I got this. Oh, what did you get? So I don't know. We're a little hesitant, at least this year. We can kind of see what some of the feedback is like before we just straight up kind of publish everything. Sally, can a golem wear a hat and a scarf? Absolutely. I don't know about you, but on a cold day, I'm bundling up. I'm putting on both. Mud says scarves look like they're going to be really sweet. Mud, are you a familiar name here? Mud seems familiar to me. I got a suspicion Mud's familiar. Thomas, remove the shiny precious gold and add shattering bosses back in. Can put their loot in scavenger maps. Okay, we're going back to maps. Remove that from a scavenger map and put the shattering bosses back on the map. Well, I don't know. It might not be quite the right time to mull over adjustments to those maps, but kind of, the shattering charms, maybe it was a bit of a tough choice, but those ones might be better off without the shattering bosses on the map. Reaper, I think we all want to see Folklore Forest loot. All right. Again, huge. I should just put it up here. We're going to do this here. I knew this was going to be a bit of a lengthier feedback Friday. I'm okay with that. How do I get text? Tell you what. I'm just going to copy paste this. All right. We're putting up a disclaimer, everybody. This is locked into place. Get out of there. All right. Put an exclamation. Yeah, we'll make it red. Maybe. Oh, that's kind of an that's too intimidating of a red. I'm scared of that red. There we go. Oh, I changed both of them. Oh, I lost my MouseHuntGame.com at the bottom. Whatever will I do? All right. Make that a little bigger. There we go. I've got my disclaimer up. All right, I'm more comfortable now. Mud, knowing what is possible to get, but not the actual chance numbers, leaves room for players to make informed decisions and the community to still work out the race. That might be a good compromise, right? Where there's still a little bit of mystery, right? But you get, you get at least a little bit of feedback of like, what could be. Yeah, Ryan, ouch, that's quite the drop considering essences used to be freely available with non-hatted loot. See, I'm wondering whether there's more enthusiasm for petals or essences, a little bit of both. I think that's definitely one, at least kind of preliminary results of that survey so far. I think those three areas are going to go a little bit under the microscope. Folklore Forest. And even just in the coming weeks, I'm trying to find a way to maybe even soundboard a little bit more, because the more feedback we can get before it comes out, I think that's for the best. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of feedback during the event to kind of log for next year. But I'm still brainstorming the best ways to even just, post an image of me claiming a golem from a certain area and just kind of get some reactions and some sentiments and kind of, just to help guide some emotional responses even. Warden, what's the chances for Super Warpath Commander Charms? You're running quite low. Really? I thought it was hard to run out of those. Ryan, perhaps leaving the stats after the event, or at least when most people get it. Yeah, I could play around. Maybe we'll kind of hold off and just gather feedback on that. But Folklore Forest, kind of an interesting spot here because your collection ability changes dramatically as you earn upgrades. So that kind of puts it in a tough spot. And so some of them are kind of, have in mind somebody who just started the area. It's going to be good for you. Or maybe the hat and the scarf is a little bit more aimed at somebody who's finishing the area, because the economy of like papyrus, right? When you're first starting out, 15 is a good amount of papyrus. By the time you're at the end of it, 15 is just nothing. So these ones are a little bit tricky, and we'll definitely be kind of massaging them a little bit probably. But they kind of have some parity. The farm and the pond have that strong identity of their resource-driven areas. Table of contents, generally, a lot of the golems don't come back with kind of currency items that you use to buy a reward. So with that in mind, the Nobel prizes for literature are sort of off the table, but one identity we're playing with for the table of contents is to make it exceptionally good for getting some draft derby curd. So, if you're stockpiled on your ink and your papyrus and you're thinking like, whoa, I need a lot of draft derby curd, that's going to take a while, kind of lean into that identity, the table of contents. So although not necessarily handing out the prizes, giving you something so then you go get to do the fun part. You get to go hunt the Myth Weaver over and over and over again to go get those prizes for yourself and still be able to experience that. So the golem didn't finish the area for you, but the golems brought back things to kind of help you go through the area a little bit quicker, or go through it in a more unique, interesting kind of way where you get to feel a little bit overpowered, or have just a good repertoire of resources at hand. Valor Rift needs some help. 10 charms is a waste of a hat slot. I think the hat slots definitely needs kind of going through a little bit closely as well. As you can imagine, what are there, 63 areas? Am I mistaken? There's a lot of areas. It's hard to go through them all. There's only so many hours in the day. Valor Rift, though. 10 charms is a waste of a hat reward. 10 pretty good charms. Might be a little bit of inflation as the years go by. That's just the buzzword now, I guess. But, what was once seen as like, those are pretty darn good is maybe now, well, I can get those from other places now. So you're looking forward to this, knowing what the best is to farm is better in your opinion. Golems getting the drips this year. Alex, finding out what is in each pool is not a fun discovery for me. It's more like a gamble for discovering that. Yeah, someone for science has to send one to the windmill and just say, yep, it's packets of flour, everybody. Nish, how does the heater base work and how would the concept apply to Queso Canyon? So the heater base was consuming flame shards to produce, to add loot to mice. So there might be a similar kind of plentiful resource in the Queso Canyon region that you might want to be consuming to blast some cannons in your base to add some bonus loot to mice as well. That was kind of our limited edition I was here type base reward for the winter hunt, but then kind of shifting the focus a little bit even more on golems. Alan asking for a friend. Will Rib drop with scarves? It's on the list. It's on the list, at least right now. Again, where's right beside me? Bam, subject to change. But it's good to have these conversations, see what players are excited about, where the sentiments lie, and even as we go through, some of the goals. Hey, how do we come up with this stuff, right? Like we go through and we call it loot per hunt. And let's say, I don't know, you're in the lagoon. I'm just pulling a random example here. And you do 100 hunts in the lagoon and you get 10 scrap metal. That might not be the number. I'm just making stuff up as I go here. So let's say, okay, I'm going to send a golem to the lagoon and I'm looking to get scrap metal. Then on average, you should get back about the same from each golem. So a golem takes 25 hunts to return. All right, so that's 25 hunts in the lagoon. How much scrap metal would you get? That's how much scrap metal on average we aim, roughly, give or take, a golem to come back with. So if you get all 3 of your golems going, it's like a triple loot event in that capacity. Now, see, that gets fine-tuned as well for perception and kind of, some things, a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. Some subjectivity creeps into that. But that's what we kind of use as our starting point anyway. And so that's kind of the space we get into. Okay, what could you get? How quickly do you normally collect those items? Okay, a golem should get about 25 hunts worth of that when it comes back. And then we kind of tune a little bit from there. Dallas, I'd rather have rainbow charms on the scars for folklore forest. Really? That might be an interesting addition to the table of contents instead of the opus, just kind of a good injection of those. Reaper, I'm really hoping to get more draft derby card and condensed creativity from the golems. Now, where was the condensed creativity? It's currently in the hat slot. 10 condensed creativity is sitting in the hat slot. Remove coins and penny, no free, hashtag no free upgrades. We struggled a little bit with that, Tyler, and that is important to note. I see it's good to just read these kind of comments as we all kind of fine tune these over the next couple of weeks, just kind of knowing in the back of our minds, right? Like, we did kind of struggle a little bit with that one because it is how you buy the upgrades. And I think that's why they're kind of like the pennies are a little bit on the lower side, right? Like the pennies and the coins aren't in the hat or the scarf slot. And instead we pick the standard slot and it's kind of balanced for 25 hunts if you have not a lot of upgrades built. So in that capacity, someone who sends every single one of their golems to the prologue pond for 4 weeks straight, they're going to have about the same number of pennies if they just went to the pond for 4 weeks straight, right? So it all kind of comes out in the wash that way. And that's kind of where we start with that loot per hunt. Now, probably a little bit more than that, to be fair, right? Because you're going to have more than one golem going. But that's why we hesitated to make it a big number based on like how much can I get when I'm fully upgraded end game, because then someone who just started the area is going to go through it like a billion times faster, whereas the golems are kind of meant to max out around, you're going about 3 times as fast, and there's some subjectivity in there, and that's not a hard and fast rule, but that's kind of where we try to get our starting point the best we can. Uh, Javier, can we leave gifts under other players' Christmas trees this year as well? I completely forgot to put together a slide for that. I wanted to just kind of get that word out there as well. If you're the type of very helpful hunter who puts together a Feedback Friday summary, then please include this as well for me. Yes, you are going to be able to put presents under trees. I think this year, though, we're going to make it between friends and teammates. So before, you could just go to any tree you wanted to and put a gift under there. And we got kind of mixed feedback on that. Unfortunately, a few Grinches were out and about, leaving a lot of not so nice things under people's trees, just hoping somebody would send them back something that's worth quite a bit. So a couple bad apples not quite ruined the bunch, but we thought, well, if I can make an analogy, you typically get gifts for friends, families, maybe close colleagues. And it's a little bit like you're in this big office building and just anybody in this office of 500 people can give you a secret Santa gift. You're like, oh, I got to return something to that person too. I hardly know Sally from accounting and Jim from receiving. Oh, I don't know what to get them. So we want to kind of dial that back. And that's just going to be friends and teammates and kind of open to suggestion there if that kind of has any red flags. And we didn't quite have time. We thought maybe we add a user preference there. We can sort of opt into, all right, I'll let anybody send me gifts. We also going to increase the cost of wrapping your gifts a little bit this year as well, just to kind of discourage a little bit of that not so nice behavior where people are putting like an orb or just one 10 gold charm under the tree, hoping they get back Super Brie or something. And if you did that last year, I understand maybe the motivation to do so, but remember the spirit of the season, and just try to maybe leave something a little bit nicer. Have that giving attitude. Don't try to trick people into giving you a nice gift. That's not quite what the season's all about. Schoolwork, you think restricting condensed creativity to hat slots makes sense for the new area, like Champions Fire a while back? Yeah, and we do tread lightly with some of the newer areas, as well. Don't when something just kind of came out and it's can be a little bit deflating, right? It's like, oh, I was looking forward to like sinking my teeth into the folklore forest. I finished the winter hunt. I come back, I was like, oh, I guess I'm done everything, but I didn't really hunt there yet. I didn't get to have fun in the area. So that kind of, that's where we tread lightly a little bit with some of the newer areas, at least. But that said, you can get hats as well, similar to last year. When you defeat the boss, drops an item, and you use that to unlock some of the rewards. And you can use that same item when you have excess of them to get hats from the general store, so you can be sending out the hats. So they're still kind of in that main big loop. Schoolwork, I suspect you'll see very little scarves used in table of contents. One opus is pretty weak. Okay, all right, good to know. Current seems like golems are very beginner friendly for Fofo. Yeah, we could kind of crunch through that a little bit again, but I think we started the standard slot as somebody who has like 3 upgrades. Kind of what is a good amount of resources for somebody kind of at that level. I don't know if there's anything else fun to look at. I mean, we got maps going. Yeah, new ways to upgrade golems. $66 mice. There's a lot of mice. But we should probably get to the trivia as well this week, right? And I knew it was going to be a little bit of a lengthier Feedback Friday. And like I said, I'm trying to think, I don't know if we'll have a eureka moment here. Maybe it can even set up as we're kind of putting this together and we're starting to and ha a little bit. I can take screenshots of just claiming a few goldens from an area and maybe just share that in some capacity. I don't know what the best medium for that would be. And just kind of a way to just get reactions in a way that doesn't have a lot of inertia. It's easy enough for us to post and just kind of quickly get a little bit of feedback. And we'll take each thing with a grain of salt as well. But sometimes it's just good to see the reaction of, okay, like, are we way off base, or are we in the vicinity, or even if somebody's like, oh, I don't know about that, but we're confident with it. At least we kind of had that kind of that filter on it. My chat has been scrolled up for far too long. Yeah, that's what happened. Fungal Cameron says hi with easy event diamond cheese from events. Yeah, diamond cheese is maybe a little bit more plentiful in the than being able to get it 3 times as fast in some spots. Ash, you dislike how Sunken City, is that your SC, is just seen as don't hunt here, go for Great Winter Hunt instead. You'd hate to see Folklore Forest get the same treatment. Yeah, that's what we're trying to tread lightly with the newer areas for sure. You can finish the area with one hunt. Yeah, that's just the nature of those types of cheese progression-based areas, though, eh? Bristlewood's Rift is really easy, School. School says there was some years ago where there was a lot of potions in that golem, and it was weird. It actually made the area very unfun, right? Because part of the fun of choosing doors is like, ooh, I could use some more of that cheese. And then if you sent your golems here, it's like, I don't need cheese anymore for the foreseeable future. Where's my acolyte door? I just need time stand. And then there's no more interesting choices, and it kind of sucked a lot of the fun out of the area. So that was a good lesson learned too of being careful with golems, that the rewards they bring back don't remove some of the interesting resource management choices that you get to make in some areas. Reaper, will there be new event maps as the old map gave Let It Snow Charm? Yes, so brand new maps. I mean, they're still called Nice and Naughty, but there's a new chest, and what we call Season It, which always makes me think we put a little bit of salt and Italian seasoning across the top or something, a little finishing salt. But the chest that you currently have will still reward Let It Snow. There's a new version of a chest, and they'll have some Festive Spirit, unless I'm mistaken. I don't think the Nice have them. Maybe that I won't check while this is up here. We'll go like this. Let me see here. Yeah, the nice maps are very familiar looking. It's the naughty maps have Festive Spirit, and at the moment they always have Festive Spirit. We're kind of tuning that a little bit, and there will be a new New Year's map as well. Like here, maybe we can even highlight this here. We've got the nice, we've got the naughty, we've got the New Year's mice our maps here. I'm losing my ability to speak. We should probably wrap up pretty soon. We gotta get to that trivia. And the nice lists have 15, the naughties have 20, and the New Year's map has 25. It's a big map with some extra rewards and maybe even a fun little surprise to show up when you open up that scroll case for the first time. Actually, I'd rather have Big Jack as a more permanent regular mini event versus giving out Ribs as potential Scarf Golem reward. Yeah, fair enough. Actually, my first thought, Ribs sounds crazy as a Scarf reward, but who knows? Maybe it's time. Well, I think if it is in that Scarf slot, it would not be guaranteed. So we'll kind of leave it at that, at least for now. But right now, there's some cool stuff in that Scarf slot. Maybe a Rib is in there, but it's not like every Scarf is a Rib. The Scarves aren't that hard to get. And like I said, the starting point we try to find is you're going roughly 3 times fast, right? So a Scarf, if a Rib takes thousands of hunts to find, a Scarf does not take 1,000 hunts to find, or over even close to 1,000, let alone several thousand. So every Scarf would not equal a Rib. Thomas, thank you for a great feedback Friday as you start to wind down. Thank you for reminding me, Thomas, here. I should try not to speak for 2 hours straight. I'll have no voice for the rest of the week. I got to take lunch. Actually, we have a busy afternoon. Just now, we kind of reached our cutoff point. It's like pencils down for the mobile release. And it's looking fantastic. Don't get me wrong. In fact, we've already submitted a version of the Great Winter Hunt. We're going to hit the button to release that on Tuesday, not the Winter Hunt, just the build that gets it ready for the Winter Hunt. I want to stress that. But you will be able to see the taiga on the map because that does get baked in. Other than that, it's not like the event starts next Tuesday. I don't want to misspeak. But that, we've already got this submitted for review. As kind of came up with previous, I think it was the Relic Hunter build, Google had some delays reviewing app updates. I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, they have that resolved because this was approved in a week instead of over 2 weeks like last time. But that said, we want to do another submit that has some extra polish in there. We're going to do that first thing next week. So, hey, it's kind of pencils down for us. This afternoon, we're going to do one last playthrough and just help us hope nothing's broken. Monday's kind of a little loose ends as well. Make sure, hey, we didn't touch anything. We didn't change anything. Everything's still feeling good. We're going to compile everything, submit a second update to the store so that can be reviewed in time for the beginning of December when it can start rolling out. Nish asking about the Bristlewoods Rift. All right, let's take one more look at a golem table. Let's do one more. I'll do Bristlewoods Rift. Who knows? Maybe the next week. I feel like I could just do this one afternoon here, just soundboard with hunters. I don't know if I could make that work, but feels like it would be useful. Bristlewoods Rift. Where are you, Bristlewoods Rift? Burrow's Rift, Whisker, Bristle. Number of cogs, drop chance of a time split rune planned for the Bolem. I'm gonna assume you meant Golem loot. Yeah, what do we got going here? We got a little bit of quartz. The time split charm, 1 clockwork cog. Not the tiny sprocket, the cog in the standard slot. The hat, time split rune cog, and then the scarf, you're either going to get a time split rune or 5 cogs. School, it's new. It's supposed to be rare and valuable. Let me find what the last thing you said up there was. Any info on expected number of scars for an active hunter? That we're still just kind of tuning up a little bit. And I will eat my words, right? That's just inevitable. But, I'd say a couple dozen will feel like a pretty good amount of scars that you're pulling in, at least right now. And I'm kind of running through it. But the winter hunt's a tricky one, right? There's a certain sense of momentum to it. As your golems upgrade, you start to be able to get stuff back to upgrade them further. And so your progression starts to just take off, right? So it's kind of important to come out of the gate strong with the winter hunt, because weeks later, it's kind of finally paying its dividends. No Realm Ripper charm. You can buy the charms though, right? So I'm wondering, open to suggestion there, if it's more interesting. You buy it with sprockets, right? I can't remember. There's a lot, when you go through every area, you start to kind of forget everything. But I have to double check, maybe getting the things to allow you to then buy the charm, because then you have the autonomy. You can choose it versus like, I don't really want to go there and I've got 50 of these charms. Like, Reaper, how could there not be any portal scramblers? Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Maybe good to add that as well. Those are a tricky one. I feel like you can almost have too many of those too, but that might be good, worthwhile addition as well. See, I feel like I could just have fun all week long, just workshopping everything. I wonder if they weren't there last year, because that feels like, why would I remove them? I've got caps lock on, help me. Jacob's typing me a message. Uh-oh. That makes me nervous. Has something gone wrong? My horn is ready. But yeah, I should wrap up here. I gotta wrap up. I got a lot going on here. Let me see though, last year real quick. I'm just gonna see if Portal Scramblers were in the Bristlewoods Rift. Bristlewoods Rift. There were no Portal Scramblers. Cheese, Anti-Skelly, Tiny, Portal Scrambler. In the valuable slot, you could get one. Yeah, that could maybe make a small return. I still got subject to change. I just completely messed that up, didn't I? Jacob's coming in with some ideas for a Folklore Forest loot. All right, sweet. I'm hoping we have a lot more time. We kind of have everything in a good starting place. And it's always important. We've got a lot on the go. All right, we're just going to delete this red text down here. It's always nice when we have that moment where we're kind of like just done everything. It's like, all right, everything's functional. We can just like play it and just kind of relax. There's not a lot of like big pressure time commitments to finish up stuff, and just make what's there better. Just fiddle it until we feel like we're done. We're ready to put the brush down. Like one more stroke would ruin the painting, but put the brush down. All right, let's get to trivia and wrap up, because I'm aiming to set a record here in 90 minutes. This week's trivia is, we're going to take a walk down memory lane like we so often do. And I've just got a random Discord camera down there as well. But this week's trivia question is, what were hunters busy constructing the very first time the festive comet crashed into Narnia? And I was a little bit surprised when I looked this up, that the festive comet has been smashing into the ground for this many years. Oh, it was not a sled. It was not the bazaar. I remember before the bazaar release, though, there's a little construction site Jacob put on the map. I remember that. Pardon me, I'm starting to choke on my own breath here. I think I've been speaking for far too long. Sled Bazaar, a tree. No, not a gingerbread house. Not an ice fort. Not the Huntington. Big Ben. Definitely not Big Ben. Fort Rocks. No, Fort Rocks came way later. Toy Factory. The toys. No. All right, here's a hint. This was 2009. We're going back to 2009. That was a while ago. Somebody please have time slow down. It wasn't the Toy Factory. That came after. I believe that was Greedy Owl, right? Maybe not. Were there 2 iterations of the Toy Factory? There's been a few winter hunts. Ash knows they're going to the wiki. It was before Moo's time. It wasn't a snow castle, Nicholas. Ryan, it was not the mountain. The mountain's been there, I'm pretty sure, since the get-go of locations. When the game originally launched, there was no such thing as locations. You were just hunting in MouseHunt. I guess it was the town of Narnia. But I don't know if we labeled it. Ash, poor Calamity Carl chose a poor location to build his toy factory as the festive comet completely destroyed his facility and shattered toy parts across the kingdom. I did thoroughly enjoy that narrative, I'm not going to lie. I guess I can hide this blank box down there. I'm glad you enjoyed that narrative as well, right? Whereas before the winter hunt started, a toy factory sprung up, but Calamity Carl picked exactly where the festive comet has smashed into the earth for the last however many years. Why would he pick that site? And it just destroyed his factory. Busy constructing the Narnia train. Have I stumped hunters, or is my question just wrong? We'll see. And I want to stress it's what hunters. In fact, every hunter in the kingdom was busy trying to build this thing. The king and Carl need your help to rebuild the toys and save the great winter hunt. That was a fun one. It wasn't the toboggan slope, Nicholas. It wasn't the windmill, John. That's just been there since time immemorial. I'm pretty sure since you could see the town of Narnia, there was a windmill spinning over there. It was not the catacombs. That's kind of interesting to think about. Did hunters build the catacombs? When have they always been there? That's something hopefully we can have some time to tell that story at some point. It was not the harbor. That too has been there since the start of time. Busy constructing Dave's office. I don't think so. Constructing the star, says Swift. Ooh, that was a fun one as well. Remember the ultra bright star? And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we went a little bit overboard with the collectibles. We didn't think the game would go for 15 years plus, where we're like, whoa, what are we gonna do with all these collectibles? But then you got the really bright shades. Not the bright shades, the dark shades, because the star was so bright. I always thought that was a fun little gag as well. They were busy building user scripts. This probably predates the rise of the popularity and prevalence of user scripts. I'd say, Thomas, not the Huntington, not the dojo, not the gauntlet. It isn't a location. Let's just go with that. Building festive spirit. That goes without saying, but there's something more specific, Reaper. Not the sunken city. That's been there since before mice were even a problem, I'm pretty sure. I might have to double check the history books on that, but it slid into the ocean, leaving that chasm behind. Nicholas, not a Christmas tree. The King's Private. I'm not reading that one, Hank. YX, busy constructing a tap. You are like one letter off. You need to insert an R into the word tap. Maybe it was a typo. Oh, not the labyrinth. Zokor was there, I guess, before they were even hunters. Or was it? Or did it just appear in our realm? Mysteriously. I don't know. We gotta still explain that. School work. Ron's a Batman beacon light. No, DC Comics might have something to say about that. Rest assured, that was not being put in the game. Swift, eggnog. No, that was another fun narrative. Do you remember the... You're close, though. You are so close, actually. Eggnog was in the mix. You were working with some eggnog. No, you weren't working with the eggnog. It was the only thing that you didn't have to use to build this thing that you were building. You were just left behind. What am I supposed to do with 12 liters of eggnog? And lo and behold, the next year, Squeaker Claus, just this monstrosity of a mouse made of rotten eggnog, burst forth from that barrel and was that year's antagonist. So you're close with the eggnog. Gingerbread House surprise trap. You were collecting gingerbread planks. You did build that. All right. Honorable mention to the Gingerbread House surprise trap. Do I get points for stumping hunters for the first time ever on Feedback Friday? I have to go back and watch it recorded to see how long. I think we've set a record here. Either that or we're just trying to break a record here of hour and a half, knowing I have to leave. And if nobody gets the answer right, am I still allowed to leave? I think I would eventually get the answer right. Does anybody know? I can send you some roots in celebration, Dave. Yeah, I'd also like a simple orb as well. You can pop that under the tree. Nicholas, so long ago. Do we have any hunters from the 2009 era that know, or anyone who's savvy with the Hunters Wiki to know what were hunters busy constructing? Now I'm starting to worry I got the question. I got the answer to the question wrong. It was not the party bot trap. That was a birthday trap, if I'm not mistaken. KDM, 12 liters of eggnog, so close. You built something out of 11 items, but you got 12, and the 12th was 12 liters of eggnog, and you didn't get to use it for it. But what did you build out of the other 11 things? That is the answer to this question, at least the one I think is the answer, and I just might be entirely wrong. Busy constructing a trap to catch great winter hunt mice. YX kind of has it on a technicality there. We're looking for the name of the trap, though. It was not the nanny bot. That was our second birthday event because we were a little uncomfortable with the terrible twos mouse being an innocent child mouse that we were hunting with some not so innocent traps. The Nutcracker Nuisance. No, that was a reward. The Toy Factory. Lynn has saved the day. I get to have lunch now because the correct answer to the trivia has been discovered. Lynn, the Christmas cracker trap. I'll give it to you. There's a typo. She's missing the letter A in trap. He or she. I apologize here. What do we got here? Can I reveal the answer? Yes, I can. The answer is the Christmas cracker trap. Am I wrong, though? Now I'm worried. I think I'm wrong. There's no way that we went that long to arrive at the answer unless I have the wrong answer. That is just sabotage. Dave thinks he fooled chat. Plot twist, Dave has the wrong answer and fooled himself. Wouldn't be the first time, Thomas. Swift, you said it 3 times already. I didn't see it, Swift. I'll check my prescription. I do my best. I'm pretty sure YouTube puts everything through the chat. Sometimes I think maybe the top chat mode kind of misses some stuff. I don't know. I do my best. I can only read so fast. I try. Rest assured I tried. Andrew already said that. Well, there we go. I didn't stump hunters at all. I just didn't see the correct answer coming in the chat. I thought I was paying pretty close attention to. I'm not a very observant person. I think we've arrived at this. Uh-oh. All right, can I put this in the chat, though? Let me find the answer. I'll put the reward link in the chat for your clicking convenience. And it is a little something. It's a little something to help prepare for this year's Great Winter Hunt. It will be useful in this year's Great Winter Hunt. Street, I already answered it, Dave. You missed it. Does YouTube filter stuff if there's too much chat? Or am I just, I don't know, I gotta scroll up now. Scroll up. Thomas finished the survey. Hold on, where did we start here? I did miss some stuff up here. I'm bad at reading. Reaper, I do hope the Jingle Bell animated snow cost is correctly balanced. Yes, so it used to be 1. At the moment, now it's 5. So Jingle Bell costs 5 animated snow instead of 1. That said, you can get animated snow at a much better rate. So it's been adjusted proportionally. We're still kind of tweaking that. So that's 2. I kind of wanted to share that to see if, I don't know, somebody just points out like, no, that's a ripoff. You're way off. Then cool, like, that's good sentiment. Then we go take a closer look. We're gonna go triple check it if kind of somebody brings it up. This is my I'm paying attention reading pose here. Not the Nanny Bot Harbor, Christmas Tree Star, Huntington Gauntlet, Busy Trap. I wonder if YouTube filters some stuff out. Eggnog carton, the 12-liter thing. Busy constructing a trap, but what? Gingerbread. No, when I scroll back, the first person who said Christmas cracker was Lynn. So I wonder if YouTube, when the chat's moving quick, kind of starts to filter stuff. I'd hope not. Or it's a bad word. Yeah, Christmas cracker trap. It's like, and we're just going to shut that down, please. This is family friendly. Maybe YouTube. Maybe the YouTube swear filter got, duped somehow. Settings to live chat. I'm pretty sure it's wide open unless just you put profanity in the chat. It should come through. Please don't test that. All right, I'm going to wrap up here before we get into some profanities here or something. Thank you for joining me this week, hunters. As I said, kind of looking to get some initial impressions, feedback, sentiment, just kind of things the whole dev team can have in the back of their minds while we play the Great Winter Hunt for the next few weeks. fine-tune the golem rewards. It's kind of just, it's a big part of the event, and it's tricky to get right the first time, but we're going to do our best, and I think with the help of feedback from hunters, we'll get there. So again, you can look forward to a familiar but brand new Great Winter Hunt this 2022. This 2022, as though there's other ones. Yeah, I'm losing my mind. I gotta take a break. Familiar golems, they work almost identical to how they did last year. Bells and hats, that's still a thing. It's still 25 hunts. You still have 3, etc. 3 new locations. You're gonna have a little bit more agency and control over which golem parts you get, because you get to use the workshop and you can kind of pick which part you want to have a extra speedy collection of to balance things out. You're gonna have the Ice Fortress. You're gonna be firing some cannons, dropping a reinforced ice shard shield to get even more shards to upgrade your golems lickety split amongst other fantastic rewards. A little sneak peek at the mobile interfaces, as they are just about, actually they should now be set in stone, getting ready for final testing and upload. Little heads up here too, if you're a number cruncher, we're kind of workshopping. The economy of animated snow has changed, so we've kind of inflated all the numbers. You get more when you smash, and they cost more to make, but there's more places to get that animated snow. Kind of want to find a nice balance where it feels similar, but still some, it's nice if the numbers are easy to remember, so we're hoping we could round them off to 5s like that, if that'll work. And yes, as well, I shared this in the chat. If not, pause the video and type in what's going to be very difficult for you to type. But hey, golem feedback as well. Please take a few minutes. It's just one more source of feedback. Just gauge player sentiment. See, okay, where are players really excited about? Because then we'll probably have a little bit more in-depth discussion. We'll send a few more, do a little more play testing around those areas. And it's too interesting just to see. I mean, early days, but there seems to be a little correlation between the response to answer question 1 and 2. Where you want to send your golem seems to have a strong correlation to what areas should have better rewards. So I'm kind of reading between the lines of that trend happening. It was like, well, where should the rewards be better? Wherever I'm going to send my golems, that's where they should be better. So please try to be objective with the second question. If there's a spot that you thought that was a little underwhelming, try to pick that spot, because it seems like it's going the way of, well, I want the rewards to be best where I'm sending my golems. But hey, that's fair enough as well at the same time. So thanks for everybody already who filled out that quick little survey. Should only take a couple minutes, and thanks in advance to anyone who's about to. Once again, thank you for joining me, hunters. Have a fantastic weekend. You can look forward to the Advent calendar coming on December 1st. That news post too. I have a little teaser of the Great Winter Hunt. It should be coming out the week following that. It'll most likely be Jacob next week doing some art. If all goes according to plan, I'll join you the following week. We'll probably take one last peek at the Winter Hunt, see if we have any last-minute questions. Lucky me, I just got a treasure mouse. I got a monstrous midge, and a prize mouse has wandered by my trap. I'm going to leave on that high note of catching a prize mouse. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks again for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.
You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me, I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry, oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out